Yes. SpeedGaming 2 presents this edition of the Link to the Past Randomizer League Season number 4. And for this one, we have present to you the second match between the Sexy Ganons and CrossWords Keysanity. I'm Mad Rhonda Crick, being joined by Norse Maddie. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm looking forward to this match. It promises to be a very good one.
Yeah, this should be a real fun match here. We've already seen match number 1 between these two teams. So representing the Sexy Ganons, we have Yagamoth and we have Fant representing Crossword Keysanity. Now I'm going to make sure that I don't say the world because I'm going to be so tempted to say it. We have A0, we have Paradox. We have a history between these two teams. You want to start off with the Sexy Ganons?
Sure. Well, this team has been in the league since the second season, and all three of the members have been a part of the team for those 3 seasons. Freddie is the third member. He was involved in the race earlier this week, and then for Crosswords Keysanity, We Are the Imposters last year. Paradox is a new member to this team. Last year they had Hitsu in there.
Yeah, Hitsuen ended up dropping out of this season here as A0 and Waterloo had decided to rename the team to what they are called now, Crosswords Keysanity. In week 1 last season, these two teams split their matches, with Freddy and Yagamoth winning the one between A0 and Hitsuen, Fant and Yagamoth losing in their match against A0 and Waterloo. So this, an all-dungeons co-op, with Freddy standing there wanting to see his team go to 2-0. We're almost there, almost set and ready to go. You're seeing the countdown on your screen. We are almost ready to begin this match. The second between these two teams is underway. So, obviously, by now, in the final day, we have already kind of given you the idea of what you're expecting here in these matches. These two, they're going to be going in separate ways to try to figure out what exactly they need to do to kind of get all the information, find out what needs to be done, who needs to do what, give each other the information, share it, and then have each other recap their steps later on. What's going through your mind at 30 seconds into this race?
Well, we got a couple of map checks with red pendant over on Eastern. So you're starting off, this is a very, very typical starts. One person goes up to Uncle, maybe tries to do a tier 1 tree pull. And the other person starts at Sink and walks up to check Bush Crab or check Lumberjack, and looking for bombs, really, at the very beginning.
Well, you're looking for information. If they drop you good rupees, you're telling your partner that. If they drop bombs, you're telling your partner that as well. If there's something useful on these tree pulls, that's exactly what they're telling their teammates. They've also told their teammates that there's 10 arrows at the Lumberjack, so therefore Agate Tower is not going to be needed for anything of super substance. Obviously, we do need to do Agate Tower. It's just a matter of when. We found the mirror here on the drop down, and it looks like Paradox is setting up a water or a hula hand here to try to get himself the 300 rupees. It's another strategy you try to see sometimes.
Yeah, this will make it so that it's very likely he will end up with enough money to visit Zora and see what Zora has fairly early in the seed, if he so chooses to want to do that.
And I believe we just saw a sword over here at the race game. So Yagamoth's going to go grab that, tell Fant that he's got to go do the race game, make sure that he has a bomb remaining at the end of this Kakariko stage. Which he should. He does have 4 bombs in his arsenal.
Yeah, he should be fine, and it's really nice to find a sword this early. Swords are a very nice item to have to just take care of all those checks that you require to kill enemies with.
So we're getting information that the lamp turned out to be here in Blind's hut. Now another move here for Paradox, which is going to be to head on over towards the eastern area to see what we have over at Sahasrahla. Maybe make your trip into Eastern. It's, again, the banner of this race is to stay away from your partner.
Yes, you want to try as much as possible to be checking new things that neither one of you have checked, especially in the overworld, and let your partner know which chest they need to pick up and which they can skip very easily.
Yep. And it's to do this in a method that is allowing you to not have to, trace your partner's footsteps. If you're both in the same general area, you're not making great use of your checks at some point, which is why you're seeing Paradox with CrossWords Keysanity over here checking the swamp area before checking the village. Let A0 check the village. That way we have all the information that we need to know about the village, whether or not we need to grab anything of in particular. And that now you're going to give A0 that information about heading on down towards the dam, heading over to Mini Mulder, whether or not he needs to do so.
Yeah, and you're going to get the Paradox will be told by A0, hey, the Fire Rod and the Moon Pearl are both in the well, so go ahead and grab those.
And likewise, Paradox is telling A0 that the ether is underneath the water. Now, obviously, we don't know if we are going to need that ether at this point, because we don't know what medallions are going to be needed for our 2 Dark World dungeons. Now, that's the other interesting thing, is that this is all dungeons. Depending on the layout of your pendant dungeons, you could have to be digging something in GT.
Yes, and if you've watched any of the races that have happened already this week, that is definitely something that has come up a few times. It's something you're going to be thinking about. And you don't want to have to do it, but sometimes it's definitely going to be required.
So for those of you that are watching here and that might be watching on the video on demands here on YouTube, the way this works is that the runners, they are in a voice channel. Yagamoth and Fanda are in one voice channel. A0 and Paradox, they are in another voice channel. So I found this, you have to go here, and they're not just only communicating where items are, they're planning out where each other are going to be. So that way they can stay away from each other's footsteps. Like right instance here, Fan is just telling Yagamoth, hey, I'm heading on over towards South Shore. It might be a good idea for you to head on over towards the castle area.
Yeah, you can't watch each other's screens, so the only way that you know what your partner's doing is when they tell you. So communication during the match is very key. There's not too much time where no one's really talking, especially early on when you're still discovering new things and figuring out where to go. The other thing you want to make sure of is knowing that the winner is the team with the total the best combined average time. You want to make sure that both teammates are clearing dungeons at an equal rate, so that one doesn't get left way behind and end up having to finish many more dungeons than the other partner at the end.
And that's not exactly just a, hey, look, you need to do this, you need to do that. There's a science towards it. If your partner is behind on the dungeon count, then they need to go and do some of the dungeons that you have done, and you can go ahead and start exploring the overworld, or you start exploring the dungeons that nobody has explored just yet. By the way, we did see another sword upgrade out in the back of Sahasrahla's hut, and we did find the bombos over here, the boomerang chest of the Hyrule Castle. Now, Paradox ended up taking a death just outside of the Ice Rod Cave. He did get inside, but I wonder what Paradox was going to do afterwards. If he was going to make a trip over towards the hobo, maybe make a trip. I mean, he doesn't have the rupees for Zora. He does not have the Moon Pearl, so he could not do a Fake Flipper out of the Waterfall Cave to check those 2 chests, but I'm wondering where the next move for Paradox was going to be had he not taken that death.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And since he did take that death and is now in firm escape, we probably will not know unless we ask him afterwards.
So A0's inside of this Eastern Palace. We're probably going to see Fant heading on over here as well in just a moment. Now, of course, you can talk to Mr. Sahas. We'll find out exactly where your green pendant is, just like Fant just did right there, to find out that Misery Mire is our green pendant. Now, that's scary because the medallion, now we've seen 2 medallions already, but the medallion that we could need to get into Misery Mire could be in Ganon's Tower. Guess what else could be in Ganon's Tower?
I'm not sure.
The Tutti Flute.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because that's the only dungeon that is that the flute is actually required for. Is that mire?
Absolutely. So therefore, we could have that become a key part of the storyline as we move through this. Yagimoth getting to the back 3 of Escape. There's our hammer. There's a map, and there is a piece of heart. So we now have 2/3 of our Dark World access. We still need to find where there is a glove. But that's 2/3 of Dark World access.
Yeah, and we're gonna see A0 finishing up the part of Eastern that we can access. And then, after that, we have Zora. I don't know if we've seen Agina yet, but there's not a lot that's going to be left available to us after those 2.
And that is interesting, the fact that it could very well be something over at Agina. I mean, that's not out of the realm. It is a Spear 1 check, even though it does take a while to get to it. It is still a Spear 1 check. So obviously you saw just Fan grabbing that Bombos and mirroring out. And of course, the other aspect about this is the fact that we are setting ourselves up for a trip up the tower. Now, I mentioned before the Agate Tower is not going to be needed for an item up at the Lumberjack, but
it could definitely be needed for Dark World access.
Our opening match back in the opening match of this week number 1 last Sunday. That was a case where you needed to go through Aga in order to get Dark World access, and that is a good possibility here, and it looks like Yagamoth is going to be heading on over and dealing with the wizard at this stage. So, the reason that that's important is that there's a lot of options once we get to the Dark World for Yagamoth. Because of that hammer, we could get ourselves down to Hype Cave, swirl over towards the digging game. We could head over towards the Palace of Darkness, although that could very well just be a one-and-done situation. But
yeah,
it's getting interesting.
A0 did find the powder in the Vanilla Big Cheese chest at Eastern Palace, which with the hammer, which is accessible, though they have not gotten it yet. Would also put Magic Bat into logic here. But I could see the reason for doing this Agaplay now. For one thing, the seat has been very stingy with money. Mentioned earlier, Paradox doing Houlihan to try to get money for Zora. Paradox hasn't found a lot of money beyond doing that Houlihan. So instead of just farming rupees to go to Zora, we can get to the Dark World this way, and we have to do Agate Tower anyway.
All right, so as we climb the tower, obviously the next question is going to be the good old Aga blue ball quantity. We love zeros. I know some of you like 15s, but these runners don't want to see a 15.
No, they want to get this. They want to get Aga over and done with as soon as possible.
So what do you think?
I think 3. I think 3 today.
3 sounds like a fair number. As they're climbing the tower, this match in the Lost Woods division, once again, claiming match number 1 of the 2 between these 2 teams, the Sexy Ganons. That's why they've got the 3 points next to their name. And CrossWords, Keysanity hoping to get a 3-pointers themselves.
Yeah, try to get the split. Yeah, so it's Yagamoth about to go into Aga here, and Fant is following him in here. So they will both get into the Dark World. So they'll have a decision, and they're probably discussing it already. They might already know what they're going to do. But I would think that one teammate is going to take that path south down to Hype Cave. And the other one may go to Catfish, or they may go to Pod.
They can't get to Catfish.
Oh, that's right. No glove.
No glove prevents that from being a thing. So you might see the only way they could really split up the entry to the Dark World at this point is one heads over to the Palace of Darkness, the other one heads over towards Hype Cave, and if somebody finds something remarkable over in Hype Cave as opposed to something over in the Palace of Darkness, maybe you tell your opponent, or not your opponent, but your partner, you need to get over here to the Hype Cave before you do anything else in that Palace of Darkness, because maybe you might find the bow. But that bow would allow the Palace of Darkness to be beatable.
Yeah, that's right. The other option would be to just have them both follow each other to the south, but that would be a lot of steps being traced over.
It's counterproductive, and if there's something in the Palace of Darkness, then you're going to be following each other into there too, and there's nothing that says that the shooter chest can't have nothing over there. All right, so Yagamoth getting into the Dark World, and it's going to find that it's just arrows over there on the pyramid ledge. So now it's decision time. Does Yagamoth play over here to the Palace of Darkness, being the first of these two over here? Not really getting much of a hint just yet, but with the hammer out, it does suggest that, yes, Yagamoth is going to be going on over to Hype Cave, therefore giving Fant the answer before he is done with his fight against Aghanim. Well, furthermore, before the branching path, Yagamoth will know what's in these 5 chests inside of the Hype Cave. Now, he's got to be careful down to 1 bomb, but he does get the firing off the way he needs to. And so, therefore, now there's a piece of heart there. There's bombs there. There's the flute. That is interesting because that will give us the mountain access, legal mountain access. In fact, that's the only mountain access we have at this point.
Yeah.
So it looks like, based on that information, Fant's immediately making it over here to Hype Cave. And yes, that's exactly what you want to do.
Yeah, at this point, with that flute, a lot of the Light World Mountain is all open to you, with the mirror and the hammer. So get a Dark World or map check here, and we got red crystals of ice and turtle rock.
Fant purchasing bombs. Now, he had the 2 that he needed to get in, but maybe he was afraid that he was going to make a firing mistake with the enemies that are around there, and therefore not be able to get into what he needed to do there. Or maybe he was just buying Yagamoth some extra time so that way he can get over here to K45 in case there's something interesting here before he is done with this part of the route. But Yagamoth is not checking K45. Interesting decision.
Yeah. It's going straight over to Dig Game here.
Okay, so so here's the thing. I think Yagamoth, it's a possibility that Yagamoth forgot about it, that he did have access to K45, and so therefore might be opting to do it as the last spot. Maybe, I don't know, but Fant is going to go save into the Light World. Now that's why it's remembering there from Fant. You have to do that mirror out of the Dark World, otherwise you start on the pyramid.
Right, and then you are going to just spend a little extra time mirroring and then saving and quitting again.
Yeah, I forgot a little bit about that. I was wondering why Fant was doing that. I thought Fant, the way he was routing that, was he was going to check K45 since Yagamoth didn't, but it does make sense because, as you see, you save and quit when you're in the Dark World, you start right on top of the pyramid, and that's nice and annoying. We do get our map check here, and of course, we found out about the Greenmire pendant there. We also have pendants over at Thieves Town, and our 5/6 are ice and over at Turtle Rock. And that's good news, actually, because that means the Canis Mario can't be in GT.
Yes, so, and it is not also not locked in the Pyramid Fairy.
Also, getting that flute out of Hype Cave is also a nice find because, again, that takes out another idea or another possibility of what could be in Ganon's tower. In fact, right now, the only thing that could be in Ganon's tower is the Quake, if it's needed to get into the Misery Mire.
Yeah, everything else is required for a Crystal Dungeon here, so we may be safe from needing to search GT for required item today.
And after activating the flute, Yagamoth is going to go ahead and see what we get for that mushroom. And to find out that the mushroom will lead us to... my goodness, we still might need that.
Yeah, well, we haven't seen Bumper Ledge, so...
We don't even have access to Bumper Ledge yet.
Yeah, that's very true.
That's kind of crazy. This does feel like this is one of those filtering you into a single path, which is horrible for co-op seeds.
Yeah, there's really, I mean, you see Yagamoth and Fanta are both on the mountain here. There's really, other than someone going over the pod, there isn't a lot else for them to do here.
We are seeing with Paradox.
Yeah, Paradox is going to...
Here's that K45 check, and it's just a 20 rupee. Thankfully, for the sexy Ganons, it's nothing that's of importance, because if it's something like the hook shot, then that definitely will make things interesting here for the routing of Death Mountain.
Yeah, whether or not whether or not Yagamoth forgot it or just didn't want to check it, if it had been something like that, could have been quite a bad thing for them.
All right, Tower of Hera check here for Yagamoth, and we find ourselves that small key immediately.
Never want to see that here. And we are going to have to do the basement to get the big key.
Yay.
We can't even Harapot and skip the big chest or anything like that. We don't have hookshot.
Yay.
Paradox did not find a small key in the shooter room chest in pod, but is going to head back to the Bowlock side, and I assume without a bottle as well, he's going to attempt a Mimic Clip.
This turns out to be something important. That's a pretty nifty find here for CrossWords Keysanity, since it's apparent that the sexy Ganons are not touching Palace of Darkness until they absolutely need to.
Although Fant just found the bow here in Paradox, so I can imagine that they might be going there relatively soon.
Yeah, considering the fact that both of them are on the mountain, and right now Fant is scouting out everything that's over here on the east side of Death Mountain, and Yagamoth is scouting out the Tower of Hera. Yeah, there's our first glove. We find our first bottle. I didn't see what was in the other two chests, however, that we were having a little bit of an issue there, a little bit of a hiccup. Nice Mimic Clip for Paradox. Also being told the boots were inside of Paradox Cave as well.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so Paradox coming through today.
Interesting setup here for Yagamoth, using two bombs to get himself perfectly aligned with the where he needs to do the bomb jump in order to get to the big chest. I do like that game plan.
Yeah, I had not actually seen that before, but it was effective. Can't argue with it.
That is the amazing thing about these tournament matches, these league matches. You get to learn so many different strats based on how other runners are doing it. And, sometimes you find yourself copying their strats as well.
Yeah, the best strat is the one that you can pull off the easiest and most consistently. And there's no right or wrong way to do things.
So I have not been keeping up with Yagamoth. I don't think he found anything of importance, though.
I don't believe he did either. Which means Fant can put Terrahara off for a while, maybe even before, right before he's ready to do GT.
And that's pretty much the reason why you want one partner scouting out the Tower of Terror early, is that way you know whether or not you need to do it before. You could definitely save time holding off until you do GT, or the last dungeon before you do GT, that is. Therefore, routing it in efficiently at the very end of this game. Alright, so Yagamoth has been told by Fant, you want those bow. Now, he doesn't necessarily need those arrows, but you're not going to go ahead and sneeze at those arrows either. So the importance about that one bottle that we've seen up here in the mountain is that is our first bottle of this game. So, of course, Sick Kid now comes into play. And with that glove, that makes it easy for one person to head on over towards the Thieves Town area and check that before they go into that dungeon.
Yeah, they now with the glove, we can go over to Kakariko, get to the Dark World there, and do BOO, and also get Thieves and Skull Woods completely cleared.
Yeah, and this is going to allow for a lot of efficiency at this stage. And obviously no hook shot, so therefore we can't even throw Hera potting into the mix here. And, you know, that's one thing where the second person that goes through the Tower of Hera, they'll be able to do that later on, because knowing that there's nothing of importance inside of this Tower of Hera, it's not one of our 5-6. It is not one of our, it's not like the green pendant. So therefore, you're going to wait until you get the hook shot, and therefore you're going to Hera pot it later on.
Yeah, and they'll be able to do it very quickly and get to skip this basement tile room. Paradox is finished up with Pod here, and I don't believe found anything of importance. But unfortunately, without having the bow, is going to be unable to finish it, and we'll have to return.
It's going to be very unfortunate news here for CrossWords Keysanity. If it does turn out that the Helmsar King has something of importance, because without the bow, you can't even get to him. But he is going to make the best of what he can do at this point, Paradox is, and head on over towards the Catfish, which is a loose square.
Yeah, I think he's just going to check the mushroom here, because he does not have the glove still. So
True, you are right. He can't do that. All right, I take that back. So, just as a note for people that are following along, all 4 runners have killed Aghanim. However, we are having a little bit of an issue with a little bit of issue with the tracking with regards to that. So, please bear with us, as that's not illuminated up on our display.
And so Yagamoth has made his way over to Skull Woods here. Looks like it's going to go right back and kill Moth first, and then if there are any remaining items, clear the rest of Skull Woods as necessary.
So, Fant now, after getting inside of the dark maze, continuing on with this dungeon. Fant's finishing this dungeon no matter what at this point. There's no reason for Fant to not finish this dungeon. Paradox is going to be grabbing that flute, so therefore he will be up to par along with A0, and will be able to make his way up to the mountain. So yeah, this is a really, really tough seed for co-op play, at least the first half of this seed, because of the fact that it's been forcing these runners into a linear path, and linear paths are really, really tough for co-op play.
They are, because we talked at the beginning about wanting to try to split up the duties, checking dungeons and overworld as much as possible, and this seed has not allowed us to do a lot of, not nearly as much as we'd want.
Like right now, Paradox is probably getting frustrated. Like, what can I do that isn't where you are? To find out that in just a few moments, once A0 checks out Paradox Cave, Paradox will now then know you are going to have to be where I am.
Yeah, you're gonna want to be here. pick up all this Paradox cave items, and then we might be able to split up a little bit more from there.
Yagamoth just barely finishing off with that Mothula fight gets a heart container. I thought this was supposed to be randomized.
Well, he probably might be happy to see that heart container.
Well, I do agree. You are going to be happy to see that. It's just, you don't normally, in this, I mean, obviously there's a lot of heart containers in this game, but you don't usually see that coming off a boss.
Yeah, that's true. Paradox is going to give us our first Mire check. Perhaps because A0 hasn't quite gotten the items out of Paradox yet. So
yeah, Paradox here is just getting to that position where I need to stay away from you. And is just desperately trying to keep up with that at this point. Heading on over towards Agina, which is the only thing that Paradox could do in this area. Fan facing off against the Homicide King. And there's the 50 rupees from Agina. Yay.
Yeah. Thanks, Agina.
17 hits to the mask for Fant. Yagamoth checking over here with Pot Prison. Yay. More keys.
You can see that even though there was an item on Moth, still had to check most of Skullwoods. So we got that second item right there. Just 10 bombs. Get out. Skullwoods is another dungeon for Fant to clear very quickly.
And so we didn't find anything of importance inside of this Pile of Darkness. That's huge because now you've told Yagamoth where's the big key. You can go mode this thing. Now, unfortunately, for the sexy Ganons, and fortunately for CrossWords Keysanity, it's just a single rupee that comes off the Helmsar King. More fortunately for them, because of the fact that Paradox has already cleared out everything except for the Helmsar King, and he's going to have to make a return trip there.
Yeah, and I wonder if CrossWords Keysanity is thinking about that one item that's on Helmasaur, not knowing that they don't need it and don't necessarily want it, other than to clear pod as required for the seed.
So I'm not the best at keeping it with completely keeping track of what's going on here because of the fact that we do have 4 streams here, and sometimes 4 streams can be difficult to keep up with. But how many items? Do you remember how many items we have seen inside of this Eastern Palace?
I want to say that there was one on Armos, but I can't say I'm 100% sure on that.
Because that could be important here for Fan while he's over here checking things out. Didn't see anything inside of King's Tomb, nothing inside of the Graveyard Ledge for Yagamoth, and now we'll head over towards Thieves Town. And these runners, they're pretty healthy, with the exception of Vase Zero, but these runners are pretty healthy for what you might be dealing with at some point in times during co-op week.
Yeah, you know, with co-op and you've got someone telling you which chests to check, they are not telling you to check chests with heart pieces in them. Maybe they'll tell you about heart containers if they're really convenient, but for the most part, you're often going to end up with fewer hearts than you would if you were doing it solo. Although runners at this level probably aren't going to be phased too much by that.
There's our Titan's Mint inside of the brewery. So it was required that we had to go up to the mountain on that linear path to get us towards where those Titan's Mints were. So we did get a question here in chat about Bumper Ledge. Bumper Ledge was nothing of interest. I think it was either a piece of heart or a heart container, but it was not nothing that you're going to be climbing up to grab. Here's a check I don't think we saw from Yagamoth or Fan or from A0, and this is Spike Cave.
Yeah, this is new. I'm not sure if they had the cape at the time, but
it's something important. And so, once again, communication is key here. And one of these places where communication is key is here in Thieves Town, where you're telling your partner that the big key is in chest number 2.
That way, if there's nothing else here in the front floor, they can just grab that big key and then head straight to the back.
And you notice that there will be some ways that the partners will communicate. Now, obviously, because we don't have that audio here, you don't get to hear it, but there are ways that the runners will communicate to each other about where they need to go. Like you'll say, big key in 2, or this is in this room, this is in that room. That's all you need to worry about is 1 and 3. Things like that.
Yeah, and you need to be able to, unless you're writing this down, which not terribly easy to do sometimes when you're also trying to play the game at the same time. You have to, have a little bit of a memory to remember these things. Your teammate might go, "Hey, where was the big key again? I forgot."
Holding on to a controller, talking to your teammate, a lot of things are going on all at once. Plus the fact that you got to execute with said controller in your hand, concentrating on boss fights, concentrating on room mechanics.
Yeah, there's a little bit more of a multitasking going on during these co-op races with the info share than you would normally see.
So, Fan getting the word that the Titans are over here is making his way over towards this end of the world. Now, I don't know if this is the point where Fan's going to just go ahead and just cover up what Yagamoth has already done by doing Skullwoods or Thieves Town, or if this is going to be just you get those Titans mitts and then you go somewhere else, because we do have access to another dungeon. We have another dungeon that we might be able to get into, but we don't have the item to beat the dungeon if we can't get in there. And then we have another dungeon that we can get into and maybe able to finish legally too. That would be Misery Mire, Desert, and Ice Palace.
Yeah, so there will be some options. It looks like Fan is first just going to follow Yagamoth and get the Thieves Town done and dusted.
And this might be just a case where you're wanting to keep up with your teammate on how many dungeons there's going to be, because with the completion of this dungeon, Yagamoth's going to have 3 dungeons complete of the 7 to get into Ganons Tower of the 10 that you need to finish here. And we also got people commenting about the P that they see in the top left corner of the dungeon. That is a recent update here with the randomizer, where in normal modes like open and standard and whatnot, where it's not Keysanity, it will come when you enter the room to say P or C. P for pendant, C for crystal. It's not going to tell you which one is the green pendant. It's not going to tell you which one is the 5/6 crystal, but that's good information, because normally you would hear the music if you're playing with the background music on, but there's a lot of people who play with MSU packs. There's a lot of people who play with no background music on. They like to play their own playlist while they're playing the game. And therefore, it's a good tool to let them know, hey, look, this is a dungeon that is crystal. This is a dungeon that is a pendant. It does have a greater show next week when we get into the FAD keys, the Keysanity All Dungeons mode that's coming up next week.
Yes, as SayurX pointed out here in chat, once you receive a map in a Keysanity mode, and if you enter that dungeon, then it will tell you if it's a crystal or a pendant, and so you will know the moment you enter if you haven't bothered to do map checks constantly throughout the seed as you pick up new maps.
So Yagamoth does not have access into this Misery Mire. Fant does. We do have the book over here, so this was a required path to get you into Desert Palace. Now, where was that ether?
That was the sunken treasure in the dam.
Right. Okay, so we definitely need to clear that. Sick had giving us half magic.
All right, well, that's definitely a quality of life upgrade. Not necessarily required to finish the seed, but you don't turn it down.
So there's one other quality of life upgrade that we've had with this latest edition of the randomizer, and you're going to see it not this week, not next week, but you're going to see it come week number 7 when we introduce the Enemizer week for the co-op, because that's going to include that boss shuffle, and the compasses now have an actual feature to them.
Yeah, they'll on the map screen in the dungeon, which we basically never see. It will show you a little icon representing the boss that you're face in that dungeon, so you'll know before just dropping in to say the bottom of Ice Palace. You'll know which boss is there and whether you can actually defeat it. I have to say the icons that were made for it are quite good looking.
Did you have a hand in this?
I did not. I am just praising other people that did it better than I would have.
Shoutouts to all the hard people that work on this.
Absolutely. They do a lot of great work and make all this possible for us. It's fantastic.
Shoutouts to the people here, the admin team for the Link to the Past Randomizer League. Fan about to pick up his Titan's mitts. There is the finish of Blind for Paradux. And yeah, about this heading on over towards Lamo, so too will A0 momentarily. So, looks like Fant is going to be doing the Breadsmith chain while he's over there. And this makes sense because now both of your players of this team, you've already done Thieves Town. This is your last real chance to get anything in this area before you have to return to this later on.
Yeah, we do have other dungeons available, but at the same time, probably you want someone to do this. Make sure we're still looking for the flippers and the hook shot and the red cane. So there's still a bit to find, and hoping that by doing this Smith chain this early and there's something there, you might have a little bit of advantage on your opponent who might put it off.
We're about to see a sequence break coming up here from Paradux. As Yayamouth has finished off the Lamo to find out the second item there are 3 bombs. And about to go and find out what we have from the Breadsmith. The Breadsmith has a red rupee. And you notice that these runners are starting to prioritize more dungeons than anything else.
Well, I mean, you need to finish the dungeons, and so it makes a lot of sense to go in there when you can complete them. Check everything, make sure there's nothing that you need, and then if you don't, you can tell your partner, go ahead and whiz through this and go mode it, basically. Now we know that we won't find the flippers in Ice Palace. Because logically, you're supposed to have the flippers to be able to access this.
But you may find the Cane of Samaria. You might be able to find the Ice Rod in here. 2 items there that we are going to need. You might find the hookshot here that makes the mountain more accessible for that Dark World trip.
Yeah, definitely sometimes the game likes to put that Cane of Samaria in the vanilla big peak chest that's right in that room where you commit the where you do the icebreaker trick when you have it.
Yeah, this game is not convenient with how it wants to give us that. Sometimes game says you want to cheat. Well, guess what?
You can't. So I'm a little interested in Yagamoth going here and picking up the Ether Tablet, Ether Medallion.
Well, you need it at this point, and even though Meyer has 2 items, sometimes Meyer could have what you need.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely possible that the Cane of Samaria is in Meyer. Not going to go there right now though.
Yeah, because you've already done Desert. It's up to Fan to do this exploration. Does look like Yagamoth is heading up to the mountain to grab Looks like the end goal of this is to check the 3 checks that we do have available to us over on the Dark Death Mountain, as well as the Ether Tablet.
Ether tablet, and at the same time, we'll also be able to get the information telling us what medallion was required to get into TR, which is also very valuable, especially if it's Quake, and you know that we need to still find that Quake medallion.
Paradox continuing through this Ice Palace. Does not look like, based on any tracker changes, that Paradox has found anything of a note in here. Yagamoth running back and forth because dead rocks are evil.
Yeah, that Tempered Sword is up there on the floating island, so
yeah, that's a good point.
Get that.
That is a good point. That definitely does help out with combat. You definitely want that. And I believe they already knew about that. Maybe that's the other reason why. It does turn out that we did need Ether to get into Turtle Rock. Obviously, we can't do anything about it just yet. We do not have the Cane of Samaria. But we do have 3 chests that are accessible to us here in the Dark Death Mountain.
Yeah, the 2 here in Super Bunny Cave, and then 1 that you can reach in Hookshot Cave by bonking. If you are able to hover, you can get all the other Hookshot Cave chests without the hookshot, but to be honest, I do not know if Yagamoth will hover that.
I know Fant is one of the runners who does try to hover every now and then. But we'll see how far Yagamoth wants to take this. These runners have done Rando for quite a while. And it looks like Yagamoth is going to be not hovering anything over here. And I was so ready to see a Cane of Samaria over there on Paradox screen, but no, not this time.
No, went over there with the bomb jump in the room where you're supposed to use the hook shot to get over here, and unfortunately for him, did not find anything of note here. A lot of dungeons coming up dry for us today.
Which is now leading me to the question, where is the next step? Where does the seed want us to go? The amount of options that are open to us, the amount of options that have not been explored, they're starting to really dry up.
Yeah, there's very little left. I mean, going into the mire here actually makes a lot of sense to me. What Fant is doing, with so little left to check it, could require us to go in here and find something, such as the flippers, to get us the Cane of Samaria in some place like Swamp.
We welcome a new viewing audience here coming in from another of the Link to the Past Randomizer League races. This is the second match between the Sexy Ganons and CrossWords Keysanity. The Sexy Ganons come in after winning their first match earlier this week, as CrossWords Keysanity hoping to try to keep things even out here and take both teams to a 1-1 record to head into week number 2. Right now, we're on a question mark of where the next piece of progression is going to be. And we did need the Cane of Samaria to beat Ice Palace. Bear that in mind.
Oh, Yagamoth here is doing a fake flipper to check Waterfall Cave, and fortunately started the boots a little too high and balked instead of running along the wall.
That's what happened.
Yeah, so we'll have to go back and do it again here with the fake flipper. There's a little bit of a time loss, but not that bad.
I was curious to what was going on over there too, but I didn't see the bonk.
But this does lead us to one in logic check that we haven't gotten yet, which is Zora itself. Oh, we got a
Oh
shovel
my
there
goodness.
on the ledge.
That's okay. Yeah, fine, whatever.
Don't really awful item to see there. And Ace Zero just finishing up pod here. The lack of maybe anything better to do while Paradox goes and does these water checks.
Did we just see the second item? Yeah, we did. Yep, we did see the second item. That's it. That's done, over with. Nice work there for Yagamoth to get that shovel out of sequence. And so Misery Mire was not the answer. So now, where can it be? What have we not checked that would answer the logical chain of where to go?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Oh,
Catfish.
I know exactly where Fant's going.
Yeah, nothing on that shovel.
Good old catfish. If this is where the next stage of progression is, this seed is disgusting.
Yeah, what would be the worst thing you could see here? Maybe the flippers, because it gets you into swamp, but without the hookshot, you can't complete it unless the hookshot is there.
If this is the hookshot, that means the answer's in Hookshot Cave, and Yagamoth has already been there. And the answer is... Oh, it is the hookshot. Oh, my goodness. Yikes. Oh. Those of you that were here watching at 8 o'clock this morning with the qualifier race, yeah, that brings up some bad memories.
Oh yeah, Fant's gonna take that right over the hookshot cave, and I think
He
that
has
we'll
to.
find something there. Well, so
He
we'll
has
find something
to.
there. Yeah.
He has to at this point in time because Yagamoth has already checked out, and we've already, I think it's come to the conclusion, and even though this team has not gone into Ice Palace, you've got to have that idea that the next stage of your progression is going to be here.
Yeah, they are much more likely to be staying in logic during this seed than CrossWords Keysanity has been. CrossWords Keysanity has been happy to break logic to look for things.
All right, so we do see Paradox over here in the desert area. As now, of course, Yagamoth is retracing Fant's steps. And it does look like, yes, this has been a key area where both Yagamoth and Fant have been very, very good about staying away from out of logic stuff, which is the reason why Fant's about to find something of note here. Well, besides those 300 rupees. All right, here we go. Red mail, that's, well, that's nice. Cane of Samaria, there that is. And a piece of heart. The Cane of Samaria's next step in this progression.
So we know that Meyer doesn't have anything else. We'll be able to complete it now, but it won't get us anything. But this will open up Turtle Rock. Oh, I guess that's not true. I guess that's not true.
It does have one item. Meyer still has one more item.
You're right. I almost forgot about that.
The green pendant turn-in. Which in that case, it might be a better idea if Yagamoth comes back up there, grabs that Cane of Samaria, finishes off the Misery Mire, and that way goes and checks what Sahasrahla has. But unfortunately, Yagamoth is already in this position where he is heading into the Palace of Darkness.
Yeah, so if there's something here in Turtle Rock, Yagamoth is going to be just a little bit behind Fant in that he's going to have to come up here to the Hookshot Cave, get that Cane of Samaria, and then come here into Turtle Rock. But at least a Turtle Rock a pod will be a very quick one for him because of that big key there in the shooter room.
All right, as we go further down the rabbit hole, and inside of this turtle rock, cannot beat this dungeon without the ice rod. Gets a key in that compass chest. Now tells Yagamoth, you've got to go grab that key out of the compass chest.
Yeah, on CrossWords Keysanity side, unfortunately, we're going to see Paradox here up in Hookshot Cave without the hookshot, so is going to have to return for the Canis Maria. And A0 heading into Mire without that Canis Maria. And we know that he will not find anything here and will also have to return.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, and that's probably a big factor into what's going to wind up happening to CrossWords Keysanity, as Yagamoth and Fan are going to get themselves closer and closer to being in go.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we've been having a little bit of an issue right now with Fan, apparently.
Yeah, Fanta's going to keep us in suspense on what's here in Turtle Rock.
I wonder if that did light that torch.
I'm not sure.
That looks kind of high.
It does look a little high. Sometimes that works, but yeah, I don't know.
Well, either way, we'll see based on how fast Yagamoth routes in Turtle Rock when he gets back up here.
Yeah, considering the dungeons he has left to do, he could do Eastern right now, I guess.
Yeah, he's gonna mirror and do Eastern next, and then he will head up to the mountain, get that Canis Maria. The question is does he go into Turtle Rock afterwards? Because if the ice rod is in Turtle Rock, then you're definitely going in there. Hey, right. There we go.
Hey, Fant's back.
Fant is back. He's going to check to see what we have at Lava Chest. And here is a shield. And apparently we found from Saber UX, who is one of our trackers on this match, that apparently the Cane of Burner was another item that we've seen in here. So we've now seen 2 items in this Turtle Rock. Also, shout-outs to Reg, also clicking the buttons here on this match on SpeedGaming 2. Thank you very much for your hard work. Thank you. It's greatly appreciated.
Yeah, yes. Love all the work the trackers put in. It's incredibly appreciated. It makes these so much more interesting and fun to watch.
Now, if only these Agas could get pressed in, but I know we've had some issues getting those tracked as well. So, as Yagamoth is going to be completing off this Eastern Palace, and Fant's going to see what else is inside of this Turtle Rock Arena area. Still don't know where that ice rod is. We don't know where those flippers are. Now, here's the thing, Norse Commander.
Yeah?
Those 2 items could be on the pedestal.
Absolutely. And in fact, if Yagamoth goes to get his Canis Maria, he's completed the once he finishes up here in Eastern, he and Fan too will have both completed the other 2 pendant dungeons. And so actually, completing Misery Mire gets you a green pendant, and it gets you what's on the pedestal. So it's actually, I guess at this point, 2 items locked behind that Misery Mire.
Yeah.
They
and
could
even
check,
give that into mind there, the fact that now we have gotten 2 of our pendant dungeons complete, or at least we will have 2 of our pendant dungeons complete.
Yeah, they do have the book, so you could just run up and check the ped, but considering that you need to complete Misery Mire anyway, I probably would just go up there with the intent of trying to pull it.
And we found a unique item in Crystal Whirler Room, the single arrow. For those of you who are new to Link to the Past Randomizer, back when players played with hints, you got told that a unique item lied somewhere. And when you got all excited about that unique item and opened up that chest to find out that it was the single arrow, you screamed at the game.
I think I'm glad I wasn't playing back then.
All right, so we've got ourselves key in position number 1 of the laser bridge. There's the ice rod.
Oh,
It is
right.
in Turtle Rock. It's on Laser Bridge. We just now need the flippers for go mode.
Did Fant skip that final chest there?
Yep, he took a look at his his menu, and I guess he
Okay.
realized that he's got both the map and the compass, so therefore, or he doesn't have the map and the compass, so therefore that's going to be at Trinex as well as that fourth chest. No reason to check it.
Okay. All right. Yeah. That's actually heads up.
And so therefore, we know that the Pyramid Fairy cannot have what we need because we need the flippers to get into Ice Palace.
That's correct. And in fact, there's considering that they just need the flippers now, there is no reason for them to go into Ice Palace until they find them, unless they just want to, I guess.
And tracker number 1, Reg, is bringing up the interesting aspect is that either the flippers are on the green pendant turn-in or on the pedestal.
That's true.
You know, that could make for an interesting prediction, except for I don't have the place for me to actually do a prediction at this point for all of you that are watching here live on SpeedGaming 2. And the question would be, where are the flippers? Are they on the green pendant turn-in or are they on the pedestal? I know which one would win the vote overwhelmingly because people love that pedestal.
Absolutely. I think that if you have a choice between green pendant and pedestal, I think you check the green pendant first because it just doesn't take as long to get to.
Right now, the Sexy Ganons have an 11-7 dungeon completion over CrossWords Keysanity, so it's looking real good for the Sexy Ganons at this point in the run, but anything can still happen. We are not done with this match at all, but I do think if we're going to see the end result of where these flippers are, we're going to see it on Fant's screen first.
Yeah, once Fant gets through Meyer here, and I believe that he was the one that came in here earlier.
He was.
So he should be able to go straight back to Vitreous now. And then we will see which location has those flippers that let us complete this seed.
And anybody was wondering about the Pyramid Fairy. The reason why Pyramid Fairy is off the table is because you need the flippers to get into Ice Palace, even though you can sequence break it, it's not going to do you any good. So therefore, it is not necessarily the right result there, and therefore the flippers cannot be there.
Yeah, so both Yagmoth and Fant will be able to go mode ice once they find those flippers, which is another bit of time that they're going to save as Paradox went through and full cleared that dungeon.
So as they make their way over here, again, we're going to find out. Actually, we're going to find out this answer right now where those flippers are going to be. As Paradox is going to be giving us a look at that pedestal. Fancy a swim is what the text would be if it is. And it is.
Yeah,
the flippers
there
are
they
there on the pedestal.
Congratulations to chat.
Now, that's also good news here for A0 and Paradox. Because once they get that ice rod, once A0 gets this ice rod out of here, that's go mode.
Yeah, they are. They know where everything is at this point, so they'll be able to just go and grab all those items and get this seed done.
And there we go. That is the end of the eyeball for Fant. We'll go ahead and pick up the third and final pendant. And now we'll flute probably straight to 3 and give us that pedestal pull. To grab what will be go mode for Team the Sexy Ganons. These two teams split last year with A0 and Hitsuen, back when they were called We Are the Imposters, against the Sexy Ganons. Right now, the Sexy Ganons looking decent enough to go 2-0 here in the Lost Woods division of Season 4 of the Link to the Past Randomizer League. Week number 1 wrapping up tonight. My team playing in the final match at 9:30 tonight.
Yep, good luck to you. You get to close out this week.
Yahoo! And also, this is decent routing here for Fant, because while he's pulling the pedestal, look what else he gets to do. He gets to finish off Skull Woods.
Yeah, this is very nice and convenient for him here. You got Yagamoth coming up here as well. Was able to do Turtle Rock a little bit faster because he was able to skip a few chests that Fant was not.
Yeah, you don't need to go out and check the Mimic Cave. You don't need to check the big chest nor the big key chest, knowing that the Ice Rod is where it is. You're going straight, skipping those few checks there that are out of the way, just doing the 2 checks that you need over at the Ice Palace, or not Ice Palace, over on Laser Bridge. And there you go. So A0 is about to get the good news here about the Ice Rod being inside of this dungeon. There's the small key, and there is the Ice Rod. So with that, CrossWords Keysanity is in collective go mode. They know that the flippers are on the pedestal, so there's that. Although there really wasn't many places where it could be at this stage.
No, not at all.
Fant done with the Mathula fight. We'll mirror and we will check we will grab the pedestal in just a moment as well.
Yep, and then Fant will do Swamp and Ice in order of one of those two. Doesn't really matter.
Probably Swamp into Ice, but it doesn't really matter what order they do it in. But Tower of Hero will be the last dungeon for Fant before we're going into Ganon's Tower. So now here's Yagamoth going into Misery Mire, as Fant is about ready to give us the pull that we all wanted to see. Gets the word that it's a fanciest swim, now pulls that pedestal, and will grab the flippers, and team the Sexy Ganons will be in go mode.
At 1 hour and 5 minutes and about 35 seconds.
The Sexy Ganons next week facing off Did You Check Your Boot? Who currently sits at 1-1. They have not done their second match of the season or the week yet. We'll see that coming up real soon, I believe at 2:10. In fact, they're going on right now as we speak over on SpeedGaming 5. CrossWords Keysanity will be facing off against I Like Big Boots. I Like Big Boots with a 2-0 record. That's where Hitsuen ended up going. That's going to be an interesting rivalry there. Hitsuen being on your team for 2 seasons, and now he's on the opposite side, together with Ganon's Gone Wild and Zero Rush. And what is that mode that we're playing next week?
We are going to be playing Fad Keys, which is FAD. The F stands for foe. Where it will be an all dungeons Keysanity mode, but the 2 Castle Tower keys will be in their vanilla location, so there will not be a Castle Tower key hunt.
Yes, those of you who remember week 6 from last season, with all of those great dives trying to get to that big key, or the Castle Tower 2 key that was all the way buried in Aga Tower. Oh wait, no it wasn't. It was on Graveyard Ledge. You lose. Congratulations. We don't have to worry about that, but it's still going to be an interesting mode, especially considering the fact that, you know, the Ganon's Tower could still have those big keys to those pendant dungeons.
Oh yeah, we are not done with Ganon's Tower progression yet. Not by a long shot.
Yeah, I mean, coming up in week number 3, when we do the casual boots, the only reason why you're searching Ganon's Tower is to get the big key.
Yes. And also next week is the start of a couple weeks of solo modes. So the longer will you get to be chatting with a teammate during the race. It's just one-on-one. It's all on you.
Yep, and then we get to week number 4 when it is the spoiler Keysanity, the piloted Keysanity mode. And again, there we're not going to be searching Ganon's Tower unless we absolutely had to grab that big key out of there, which by the time we get to Ganon's Tower, we'll know if the big key's there because, well, your teammate has the spoiler log, and they're telling you where exactly they need to go. We did find silver arrows, by the way, for Fant.
That'll be nice. Make that Ganon fight at the end just a little bit easier.
So for this season here in the league, weeks 1, 4, and 7, those are your team weeks. Weeks 2, 3, 5, and 6, they're solo modes. Week 5 is going to be interesting. That's the cross keys week.
Yeah, that's a fun mode to especially to watch. It's a little bit more difficult to keep track of with the entrances being randomized.
Oh yeah, it is definitely a bigger animal, and of course, shout outs to the Cross Keys tournament that is still going on with Game 3 of the semifinals going on tonight over on Zelda Speedruns, I believe. But yeah, if you want Ganon's Tower progression, guess what? CrossWords coming up. CrossWords Keysanity coming up week number 5.
Yeah, and if you're a fan of the co-op info share, as we are just wrapping up this week, you'll get to see it again in week 7, but it will be combined with Randomizer.
Killable muggers. That's all I'm gonna say. Fan is all done with the trip into Swamp Palace. Now heading into Ice Palace to do his final non-mountain dungeon. We'll do Tower of Hera last before going into Ganon's Tower. Based on the routing here, I wouldn't be surprised to see Fant be the first of the two to get into GT.
That's right, because he still has to do Ice and Hera, while Yagamoth has to do Swamp and Ice. But Hera should be a little bit faster of a dungeon because Fant will just be able to Hera pot right up, skip all the chests, and go straight to Moldorm.
Absolutely. So right now, 16 to 11 is the dungeon spread here between the Sexy Ganons and CrossWords Keysanity. All dungeons, having to do all of them, and plus Aga's Tower, which we already had to do because that was our portal into the Dark World. What a crazy sea this was.
Yeah, this is one of those scenes where it's like, if this was not a co-op info share, it would have been quite the ride. Would have had to do a lot on your own.
So should this result stand, the Sexy Ganons will be one of 3 teams in the Lost Woods division to go 2-0 this week. I like Big Boots, as well as the Titans Mitts, also went a full 6 points in this week, with the other results still to be determined whether or not the Did You Check Your Boot can get that other win against the French Canadians. Once again, that match going on right now as we speak over on SpeedGaming. Actually, SpeedGaming 6 is where it's at, not SpeedGaming 5.
Yeah, I can see with the silver arrows now, it looks like Fant and Yagamoth they're not going to make any additional checks here. They really don't need to. I think the only thing that they could get at this point would be a gold sword. But tempered it's good enough.
Very good Argus fight there for Yagamoth as Fant drops in and is about ready to face off against our friend Cold Stare. One thing I do note here, it's going to be an interesting fight coming up here for Paradox against Vitreous.
Oh, he is. Does he just have the Master Sword?
No, he's got the Tempered Sword. That hasn't been updated, but I'm talking about the 5 arrows.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's got the cape, so he can just take care of the little eyes. The big eye, though, usually you hit it with 8 arrows.
Yeah, usually you want 8 arrows for that, and he realizes what he doesn't have, so therefore he's just going to go ahead and sword him down, make this a decent fight that way. You get nice use of the cape in order to do that.
So Paradox will be able to grab those flippers, do Skull Woods now, and start working through the rest of his dungeons.
Wait a second. Alright, well, it does look like that A0 has finished off with Eastern Palace as well. So this count is a lot closer than I had originally stated. But nonetheless, A0 about to go ahead and pick up this pedestal so he can fancy a swim. Yagamoth pulling off the icebreaker trick as Fant makes his way over towards the Tower of Hera. And so there, once again, Fant will be the first runner to get into GT, and because of how quick this is going to be for Fant to get into the Tower of Hera, Hera pop, and then go over towards the fight against Moldorm. I am going to go ahead and start this question right now because I know people like to throw numbers in the chat, and there's over 300 of you that are watching right at this stage. So even though Fant has not claimed crystal number 7, there are 22 possibilities in Ganon's Tower in which the big key can be located in Ganon's Tower. Please pick a number between 1 and 22 and tell me, and also Norse Commandy, where you believe that the big key is going to be in Ganon's Tower. Norse Commandy, where do you believe it is?
I always pick 8. It's never 8 when I'm watching, but I always pick it. Do you have a favorite number?
I do, but my favorite number is a very infamous number with regards to the Ganon's Tower guessing game.
Do you pick 22?
Hey, my birthday is on the 22nd, so therefore 22 is my favorite number, but you don't want it to be number 22 here at GT.
You do not, because that is almost always tile room.
All right, there is the 7th and final crystal pickup for Fant. There is the 7th and final crystal pickup for Yagamoth, but because Yagamoth still has to get up to the mountain, he will be trailing probably, what is it, about a minute, maybe a minute 10 of a difference? Not a lot, but just long enough that Fant's going to have a head start climbing this.
Yeah, so we'll see which way Fant goes, knowing that he's going to be in there by himself for a little bit. May see if he can do the right side, and if it's not there, then both of them know they can just go to the left. Or he might go to the left. Really I think
the way you're going to see it is Fant's probably going to go left side, but if he doesn't see anything, Yagamoth's going to be told go right side. Fant's going to start off with the Hope Room. Number 1, 10 arrows. Number 2, 20 rupees. As we mirror and head over towards the left-hand side.
Yeah, so no choice but to start on the left for Yagamoth, because there is no key there in Hope Room.
What then might be told is to Yagamoth to go grab that key out of the pot that you just saw Fant smash, and then head over to the right side. Again, by the time that Fant gets over, or rather Yagamoth gets into GT, Fant will have done this room here with the Staffles. He will also have checked the fire snake or the fire chain room. And there's a small key there. There's a small key on the bottom right. So you're feeding that information to your partner in case they absolutely need it. As Fant gets ready to check inside here with the fire chain room. And it's now time for that number 8 that you said. There it is. You're right on commentary.
I did it.
There you go. You watched the number 8 come true.
Let's see. In chat, it looks like Phantom SVT was the first person to say 8. So, congratulations to you.
So obviously, because of where that big key is, Yagamoth is going to need to come into this room to take care of these staffos, because that way he can get that second key. Because otherwise, you're going up the tower with 0 keys. You don't want to do that.
You do not. So, just, you know, he got to skip the chest on the left side. Just grab those 2 keys in there, and now we'll have 2 keys. We'll not even need to kill the mini helm store up there in the tower to get another key to move on.
He will. Well, maybe. I don't know. Maybe you might. Nah, you won't. Nah, you won't. Never mind.
All right. I thought maybe I was missing something.
I'm just missing my thought process. Anyways, there is the final pedestal pull for Paraducks, grabbing those flippers. And now a Paraduck can truly swim.
Yeah, he's using the Squirtle Swite, and I thought Squirtle could already swim, but I guess you have to teach it that move.
Which trainer do you have to beat in order to learn that move?
Oh, I don't remember. It's been a long time.
All right, Yagamoth wants to be a little careful climbing up this gauntlet here. Down to 2 hearts. Don't really want to see a death at this point, although I think he might still have that fairy in the bottle.
I think he does, yeah. I don't think he's had to use it.
And remember that we've already have done Aghanim, so therefore the next step for both of these runners once they get done with this climb up the tower is to defeat Ganon. As we see A0 and Paradox, they continue on their quest here to get themselves to GT. They are not that far behind. However, they will be a full GT behind by the time Yagamoth and Fant get themselves to Ganon at the very, very best.
Yeah, you know, at this point, it's definitely the Sexy Ganon's match to lose here.
And I think what this race came down to is Fant finding out about that hookshot location before anybody else did, about it being on Catfish.
Yeah, getting over there to Catfish and getting that hookshot definitely gave the Sexy Ganons a leg up for basically the rest of the match.
All right, so Yagamoth here climbing this tower, 2 hearts remaining, and has just completely climbed this entire tower without taking another hit. That's good. That's real good play there from Yagamoth, and Fant facing off against the Aga 2, where you're telling your partner you're not done communicating at this point. Yeah, you're probably getting into more like casual conversation by the time that you reach this stage, but you're still letting your partner know that this is how the Aga 2 setup's going to be.
Yeah,
and maybe you're commenting about how you just missed in a couple of those shots from Aghanim as well. Ooh, that's a bad one right there. Fant should have had that second shot, but unfortunately had to take another cycle because he got hit by that first one that was going to hit him directly and then was wide right on the other one. So anyways, Aga 2 is done for Fant. Now off to face off against Ganon, as Yagamoth now faces off against Aga 2 himself. So in the event that this was going to be a closer race, it would come down to the averages of these two teams. That's not going to really matter this time around. Fant facing off against Ganon, Tempered Sword, Silvers in hand. And there is the finish of the Aga 2 fight for Yagamoth as Fant gets ready to face off against this Ganon. Nice spin. I believe he got the 2 spins on it, so he'd be at 6 on the count. And that's a 1 cycle. That's good. Really good setup here to this Ganon fight. And of course, with Red Mail, you're going to be tanking those, get those 12 hits in, and get yourself to stage 3. Where you ask Ganon to just please stop warping.
Yeah, if they've got 1 or 2 fairies in the bottle, in the Red Mail, you're definitely going to just take that damage, let Ganon hit you, and get it done as soon as possible.
And as our trackers are noting, it's showing up as the castle tower showing up as the Aga Tower completion, or whatever the case, or the Ganon's Tower completion. I don't know. But interesting footnote there. As we reach the end of this, Fant's got 1 more silver to find, and Fant's the first runner finish. Get a G in chat as one of the sexy Ganons that's finished, and behind him is Yagamoth. Over the top right for the 4th and final of the hit. And there's the first of the silver hero hits, and almost perfectly timed for Yagamoth. He did get a good time there, just unfortunately couldn't get any strikes on Ganon. And get him to the bottom, trying to get him double. Can he? Yes, he does. That is it for Yagamoth. And the Sexy Ganons are 2-0 in League Season 4 after their win over CrossWords Keysanity. Get your GGs in the chat for the Sexy Ganons.
GG's to Yagamoth and Fant.
Real solid performance for that team. Really good. We'll talk with them in just a few moments here on Speed Gaming 2 as we go ahead and watch CrossWords Keysanity finish things out for this week. Could be a battle of 2-0s, depending on what's happening over on Speed Gaming 6 right now as we speak. So while we have a moment here, Norse Commander, do you want to pull up the schedule and talk about what else we've got coming up today?
Sure. So, later today for the Invitational, as you mentioned, we have the game happening on Speed Gaming 6. Tonight, we will have the final match of the week at 9:40 p.m. Eastern Time on Speed Gaming 5, and that is the Bomb Squad, which just happens to feature my co-commentator, against the Tile Roomies. Looks like Adirondack Rick, you'll be teaming up with Synak, and you'll be playing Plasma Kappa and Jay Meisher.
Yep, and we ended up losing race number 1 by an average of 8 seconds.
Oh, man.
It was an average of 8 seconds. So if we get anywhere close to that here in race number 2, it should be a lot of fun to wrap up week number 1.
Absolutely. Sorry for your loss, but that must have been a very fun match to watch. Just pulling up the open schedule here. We do have a few more open matches, open league matches. Unfortunately, none of them will be re-streamed, but actually at 3:10 Eastern Time, the last 3 matches will be happening. So if you want to go ahead and check out the schedule and see those, and perhaps pull up some of those runner streams and watch on your own, definitely a valid option. And then week 2 gets off kicks off tomorrow. A lot of matches on the schedule already. I don't think that any streams have been decided, so keep an eye out for those.
Absolutely. So we do have fan joining us from the Sexy Ganons. GG's to you and your teammate Yagamo.
Yo, GG's. All these matches, whenever you get into go mode, like the heart just starts pumping no matter what the case is, because you have no idea where your opponents are and everything's just, is it gonna dot done? Is it gonna dot done soon? Like right now, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, it was
you finally get through and it's just like no whammies, no whammies, no whammies.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course that you found out that you were the first of the finishers on that must have felt pretty good, at least to get your teammate to the finish line knowing that he wasn't that far behind you.
Yeah, it ended up working out great, our separation at the end there, in terms of like me finding the GT big key at essentially the perfect possible time. So you didn't have to go waste time right side at all.
So the big deciding moment here in this race between you guys seemed to come down to your decision to go to Catfish. Now, what made you go to Catfish when you did?
Well, at that point, we only had 2 items in Logic, or 2 locations in Logic: Bombos Tablet and Catfish. That was it. And we knew, like, nothing could be in Mire. Flippers had to lock something, so it was going to be either the flippers or the hook shot. Like, almost guaranteed. I guess a low probability of it being the Cane of Samaria to lead to Pedestal. But we wanted to prioritize that since we knew those had to be something versus going through and sequence breaking like Ice Palace or other places.
Let me ask that question here, because that's a very interesting concept here. Was that a cognitive decision of your team to just try to stay away from doing things out of Logic like that?
Well, we do stuff out of Logic when it makes sense. And given what we needed for Go mode at that point, I don't think it made too much sense, especially with how many other dungeons we could clear in terms of like catching up each other to the crystals we've done. So we knew it's all dungeons, so we absolutely needed flippers, and that can't be in Swamp or Ice. So that's kind of like what we were playing on, that flippers had to be there. But it kind of was indirectly.
Yeah,
yeah, Yagamoth, who unfortunately can't join the interview here, European time, and just super tired and exhausted after this race. But we had like mused around with dipping into Ice Palace several times throughout that seed. But we always found something else to keep us away from that, or logical reasoning to keep us away from that.
It totally made sense, because you were the first one to get to the hook shot, which also meant that you were the first one to combine that with the discovery of the Cane of Samaria, which then, of course, chose you to go into Turtle Rock. And at that point, was that the same kind of thought process that had you going into Turtle Rock to get that ice rod?
Yeah, so at that point, we were now 2 items from Go mode, Flippers and Ice Rod. And there are only, at that time, there are only 8 possible locations where literally both of those had to be. 6 of them being in the Turtle Rock area, and then you had Green Pendant and Pedestal. Like, those were the only possible locations remaining in the entire seed, at least as far as we knew. We forgot Sick Kid.
That unfortunate decision not to get Sick Kid, but it didn't really come into play here, because you never had a moment where you seemed to be struggling for magic. As we do have Base Hero finishing up with this seed, get your G's in the chat for the first member of CrossWords, Keysanity, finishing on here on that aspect. But yeah, that was the big thing here, is the fact that you seem to have at least got the items in the right order at that point position. You weren't drawn into an Ice Palace play, and you kind of took the right idea of staying out of the Palace of Darkness, at least at the very, very beginning, until you both had the vote.
Yep. That was also a big decision point there. When we found the hammer and decided to go straight to Aghanim after getting the Master Sword, because the logic behind that, I'll say, is we had the mirror, so I wasn't going to go over to Eastern Palace when I could just couple Pod and Eastern together with the mirror after doing Aghanim, since we have to do it anyway. But also, I want to warn the restream. forgot that I needed to keep the stream up, so I cut the stream at the end of this.
It's okay.
credit
We got to the end of
sequence.
the end of your credits.
Yeah, so I just want to warn the restream about that.
You're good. You're good.
But yeah, so we found the hammer in there, which I was waiting to climb up Aga Tower until Yagamoth had made it through the back, because I told him this is like, if the hammer's back there, I want to go get that before I do Aga Tower. And sure enough, like seconds later, the hammer's back there, so that allowed me to like get Bombos, and then from there, we just had the first person to finish go down to Hype Cave, and if we were close enough together, I would have gone over to Pod Eastern, but because we found that flute down there, that made the choice easy that we should go up the mountain, both of us, because we could split it with one person going into Hera, which we like to do, and then one person clearing the rest. And well, turns out everything was up there. So
Yagamoth's timing of getting that flute was good. Just like your timing of getting the big key, just as Yagamoth was entering GT. It was kind of like a counter at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're always talking back and forth about how to most efficiently do things, how to most efficiently split the work up. And it's sometimes hard, sometimes just down to luck, and then sometimes easy. So like, we always save our go mode dungeons for, hey, right now it doesn't make sense for us to go divvy up these checks. We can have one person do this, one person catch up, because there's not too much benefit in going back and doing things. We still want to like be efficient and do dungeons when they make the most sense to do so. Another example of that was when I went into Thieves Town, because Yagamoth found the Titan's Mitt in the brewery at that point, and we knew Thieves Town had nothing in it. But that was the most efficient time to do Thieves Town, and like we knew between us there's enough stuff for us to do that me putting off like doing the purple chest chain and all that would like impact our route at all. And so we're always considering things like that on how we're going to route.
Definitely made sense. And now, of course, you get a potential 2-0 versus 2-0 that depends on what's happening over on SpeedGaming 6 right now as we speak, when you face off next week against Did You Check Your Boot?
Yeah, they're a good team. I mean, everybody's a good team in the league at this point. So, a couple different decisions could flip a race, but I was pretty proud of my execution today. Granted, we had a lot of safeties and Tempered Sword to make things pretty easy.
And with that right there, Paradox has finished off with this seed, and get your GGs in the chat for CrossWords Keysanity.
GGs to them.
So, yep. So, have you played the FAD Keysanity ever since last season when you did the All Dungeons Keysanity?
I haven't done it, but I like the settings because it's not too different from regular Keysanity, really. It's just I think the one difference is Aga Tower guarantees to have the small keys in there.
Yep.
So that's fine. I like that because I hate having to go dip into Aga Tower. That's like my least favorite part of Keysanity. Is you go in there with one key or no keys, get the chest. You have to go in there with one key and get the chest. Potential like triple dip it depending on what the items end up being.
Or you have to play
this setting mode kind of fixes that.
Or you have to play the game of searching all of Ganon's tower to find the AT2. Anyways, let's welcome in our friends here from CrossWord Keysanity, Ace Zero, and Paradox. GG's to both of you.
Hello,
GG's.
GG.
Thanks, GG's.
Well, that was unfortunate. I only have this to say with Catfish. Yeah, there was no way. I mean, we both know we were behind with that when we did the Catfish.
Yeah, that was a very unfortunate location of that hook shot, which opened up the last half of the seed there with the hook shot to the Canis and Maria, which also led to the Ice Rod and the flippers for go mode. But that was unfortunate. I mean, this first part of the seed, the first 30 minutes of this seed was kind of a very unfortunate for a co-op mode, considering the fact of how linear the seed was. You couldn't stay out of each other's tracks.
Yep. that indeed we needed to do Aga, and then I decided to go for Pod, even though it's out of logic. I was hoping to find something there with Mimic Clip. Didn't pay off. And then after Thieves Town, I went to Ice Palace, which didn't pay off either. That was just unfortunate. Unfortunate in terms of logic.
Yeah, it didn't work out that we kind of pushed dungeons, which were all basically empty except for the very end, that Turtle Rock, and some of the like fetch quest items, like getting the powder early out of Eastern was, I kind of obligated to go check it, and of course that was nothing, and Paradox had the mushroom too that we didn't want to wait too long to turn in, but that was nothing. Like those fetch quests didn't really help us, and splitting those up kind of made our routing a little bit more awkward. At least for me, it made it hard to do things efficiently.
Yeah, this was a tough seed in terms of best splitting the work between the two runners.
Yeah, that wasn't my best performance too. I did some big mistakes. My portal in Skullwoods was one. That was pretty bad. My gameplay in general wasn't really great either.
Yeah, I think we double dipped so many dungeons too. 'Cause we double dipped Eastern and Pod and Mire. That just adds a lot of time.
Yeah, the decision to go into the Misery Mire was understandable, especially given when Fant went in there and when both you guys went in there. We were starting to run out of items, and we've seen that case there before where Misery Mire, one of the two items that are inside there, could be an item that you need to beat the game. And sometimes it could be like the Ice Rod in Turtle Rock, where the Cadus Bark is right there, but just wasn't the case this time around.
Yeah, if you have Canis Samaria and access to Turtle Rock, it's practically guaranteed the Ice Rod's always in there, usually on Laser Bridge. Just seems to always work out that way.
Yeah, I think the Ice Rod was our only hope when we found the Samaria. We hoped that you didn't go to TR and went to Mire to get the flippers, cleared swamp or whatever. That was just a rough seed.
Yeah, we were kind of able to avoid most of the double dips. I think the only double dip we had to do was Mire. That was only me. I don't think Yagmoth had to double dip anything. That was the only double dip I had to do. Yeah, that was at the point where there were like 5 locations left or something. So we decided to just dip into Mire. Find the big key, because although you have to redo Mire too, I don't think Mire's that bad of a double dip, honestly, because you always have to do the big key hunt anyway. Then whoever ends up going there later just can blaze through it super quickly.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Especially in this case with the big key placement being in spike rooms. That was nice.
Yeah, it's definitely better than the Eastern double dip, which I think it made sense at the time since we were still missing that glove, which ended up being super late. We didn't have glove, we didn't have hammer, so it was like, well, we could do Aga Tower, but then what? The front of pod without the bow? We don't have anything for Dark World, so doing Eastern before Aga Tower makes a little bit of sense. And of course, while I think I finished Eastern just before Paradox got the hammer out of the back of Escape. It was like, okay, well, there's actually stuff in the Dark World now.
Yeah. What happened with our route is we had Yagmoth basically go into Hyrule Castle right after Kakariko, because we don't like double dipping Eastern Pod because we've been burned on it so many times. So we had the sword, made it like a pretty easy choice to go in there, especially when we realized we had the lamp. So if the key was at the bottom, like on the way to Zelda, then all of that was in logic.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as I found the Master Sword, I basically made the decision right then and there to just go do Aga, since we had the Moon Pearl. And then as I was in there to go get Bombos, Yaga finds the hammer. Just ended up working out pretty well for us there.
Yeah, that was the right plan, to go to our guys instead of his turn.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's one thing you only really do in all dungeons, because you have to do it anyway. So,
yeah.
Might as well just do it now. Also, since I had the mirror, actually, yeah, no, the other reason is I had the mirror, so I was thinking of doing Eastern, but we could just couple pod and Eastern together. With the mirror,
Makes
so
sense.
it's more
I hadn't
efficient to
even
go do
considered
Aga
that.
immediately.
If I had thought of that, that would have probably affected my routing too, or our routing. That makes so much more sense.
Because, like, yeah, you don't have the hammer, but you can at least mimic clip right side, and then get some keys and get most of what's in pod without a hammer. It just makes the routing a little bit inefficient, but you can get pretty much everything in there outside of the boss without a hammer or a bow.
So, of course, with this here, next week, we'll be seeing the CrossWords Keysanity facing off against I Like Big Boots, which will feature a former teammate of yours as one of the members. Any thoughts about that?
It's gonna be a tough matchup. I mean, they're both gonna be tough because I'm gonna be racing against Hitsuyin, and Ganon's Gone Wild is racing against Waterloo. I think is that what we're doing, right? Paradox. Or are
I
you
think it was
racing?
me. I think it was
You're
me
racing
against Ganon.
But both are gonna be tough races. I don't
Yeah,
know. I'm interested to
definitely.
see. Gotta take out our traitor Hitsuyin, who abandoned us.
Here comes the smack talk.
No, but it'll be fun. And I heard as we popped in the interview, Fant was talking about the fad keys and the advantage over all dungeons Keysanity of that Aga Tower is going to be fun. A fun little, basically all dungeons Keysanity, but with like a nice little quality of life. So looking forward to the game mode as well as the matchup.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
GT become way less valuable. There's only chance for the pendant keys to be there, so it's not too bad.
I mean, you say that, and then you end up getting the Palace of Darkness big key in GT that you have to search all the way through to Tire Room to get. But we don't want to speak about that stuff. We're just going to have fun next week, right?
That's the plan.
Any idea who you're setting out for the Sexy Ganons, Fant?
We haven't decided yet. We'll see what... We're kind of like limited based on what our opponent's schedules can be. So that largely impacts who we can and can't send out.
Well, good luck to both of your teams as we face off in week number 2. GG's to the Sexy Ganons going 2-0 here in week number 1. And best of luck here to the CrossWords Keysanity as they face off against I Like Big Boots coming up next week as well. So that's going to do it for us over here on Speed Gaming 2, coming up at 4 o'clock Eastern. And 1 hour from now, you have a few friends from that community there, Fant. The Ori and the Blind Forest Randomizer coming up here at 4 o'clock, featuring Vooligen on commentary, so that should be a lot of fun. And, of course, we close things out with the season for week 1, with the match between the Bomb Squad and that team they're facing. I only care about my team. So let's go ahead and do that. Norse Commandy, thank you very much for joining me for this one.
Thank you, Rick, and I just want to thank all the runners, A0, Paradox, Yagamoth, and Fant for giving us a show and allowing us to restream. GG's to all of you. Thanks to the trackers, Reg and Seiyu Ryu X, for pushing those buttons and keeping us all up to date on what each runner has in their inventory at any one time. And thanks to all the viewers for watching and commenting.
Absolutely. And I face against the Tile Roomies, so there you go. I'll give you some love over there. Don't write me letters, Jamie. Sure. See you later. Bye, everyone.